So I'm going to dive right in. I have 3 super simple case studies for you, and I might even add a 4th, but 3 super simple ones. We're going to start first with my client, Pamela Moss Garrett. She did her book, Legally Ever After. You can see it. Beautiful book. I love this cover. One of my favorite covers that we've done. Steve did that, who has been with me for going on 14 years, doing covers for clients, award-winning. I love her book. Pamela is a estate planning attorney. So she helps, in particular, young families that are wanting to be sure that their estate is arranged, even if it isn't a monstrous estate, but it's arranged so that their children are protected in case of any kind of disaster. I don't know exactly what Pamela's average client lifetime value is, but I know that many of the services that she provides start somewhere in the range of about $5,000. So what Pamela did, and we met when her book was originally done by us and then launched, and we created just a simple plan that wouldn't require any kind of tech, which she wasn't interested in doing. And the plan amounted to 2 primary things. Number one was using the book for a source of referrals from her existing client base, past clients that she worked with. And number 2, creating strategic partnerships with people that have complementary businesses that would be a consistent flow of new clients and opportunities into her business. Now, Pamela and I actually did a workshop together where she laid out the first 60 days stats of doing this. So I can direct you guys to that workshop if you're interested in seeing it. It was a workshop just to attorneys, but she wanted to lay out what her statistics were. The short version is, what she did is she sent out 2 copies of her book to each of her past clients, which amounted to a few hundred copies. And of course, the book can be printed for somewhere in the range of $4 or $5 on Amazon, depending on the length of your book, right? And whether or not it's color inside, which it does not need to be. Of course, color cover, but it doesn't need to be, more than grayscale on the inside. And so, if you're going to send out 300 copies of your book, it's still probably going to cost you $1,500 or $2,000 to do that. And that's not something that you may be interested in doing immediately, but it is something that you could perhaps do on some kind of schedule. Well, Pamela did it immediately. And within a few days of the first copies going out, she started receiving calls for 2 different areas. One was for referrals, people that thanked her for a copy of the book and also passed on a copy of the book to a friend or a family member or somebody else that needed it. But the other thing that was very interesting to her, which she was not expecting, which always happens, is when you have a happy past client that has already paid you money and that is happy with whatever it is that you've already done for them, and you put something in their hand, you're going to be surprised that they have other needs that you can actually meet. And so she had a number of clients, past clients, that called her and contacted her, thanking her for the book, but saying, hey, we need to update our estate plan, or we need to add this feature in, or do you know, or can you help us with this particular facet of, legal advice we need? And if you can't, can you direct us to somebody that can? So and this is all within the first 30 to 60 days of her launching her book. So you need to ask yourself, 2 questions. The first has to do with whatever current clients you have that you've served. Do you have a database of those clients? Do you keep in touch with them regularly in some kind of real and personal and direct way? I'm not talking about a canned newsletter that, you buy from a newsletter company. I'm talking about like real personal way that you are re-engaging with them. If the answer is no to that, then your book is a great way to restart that relationship. And all you need to do is put together a simple letter that would go out with your book that, basically thanks them for being a past client and lets them know that if they know anybody that's interested in a copy, you would be glad to give them a copy for free to pass on. That's simple. Now, the second thing she did, which I loved, is she created several strategic partnerships. What is a strategic partnership? A strategic partnership is somebody that is complementary to your business and not competitive. So for an estate planning attorney, that would be a financial advisor or a certified financial planner. That would be an accountant, CPA. That would be maybe even somebody that sells real estate or sells estate homes, that kind of thing. And so Pamela began a process of setting up 2, 3, 4 strategic partnerships. It's very, very simple. I mean, Pamela has an excellent reputation, as I'm sure all of you do as well. And so that excellent reputation was a nice door opener. Pamela could lead with her book as well and simply let people know, hey, what I want to do is I want to give you a stack of 10 or 20 books so that you have something that you can pass on that's valuable to your clients. So after you, fill in the blank, do your certified financial planning session with your client, and you ask them a question about their estate plan and they don't have one, just give them a copy of my book, Legally Ever After. That's it. So it doesn't take any additional work for your strategic partner to do that. And in fact, your strategic partner looks really good by passing on something of value, which books are always viewed as valuable. Within the first 60 days of doing this, Pam brought on 12 new clients at an average amount of $5,000. It amounted to $60,000 in brand new business in the first 30 to 60 days from two simple things that most of you can do: strategic partnerships and referrals, okay? So the two questions to ask yourself regarding case study number 1 is, who is complementary to my business that I could create and initiate a strategic partnership with? Ask yourself that question. Find those people, initiate those conversations. And the second question I've already asked, which was really the first question, and that is, are you keeping in touch with your current client base? Do you have a current past client base that you keep in touch with on a regular basis? If yes, then get them a copy of your book. If no, then get them a copy of your book and reintroduce some type of strategic process where you're going to be reaching out to them on a regular basis. Because if you've done a good job with them, and I'm sure you have, if they're happy with you, and I certainly hope that they are, then guess what? They're going to have more needs that you can meet in the future. And they don't want to go looking for a new person. They already found you. You just have to stay in front of them. Okay? That is case study number 1, which I don't know. By the way, Pamela has since been on the Drew Barrymore show with her book, Legally Ever After. Her book has exploded, hundreds and hundreds of reviews, thousands of sales. I don't even know what the numbers are right now. I know that she's working on her next book, which we're going to be working with her together to launch it, publish it, do the media and PR. Drew Barrymore show has 2.5 million viewers per episode. She had a 20-minute segment on Drew Barrymore. So I'm just giving you a little slice. I'm not telling you you need to be on the Drew Barrymore show. I'm telling you all you need to do is find a strategic partnership that works for you and use your book to generate referrals. That is what Pamela did, and it worked like gold. Okay, case study number 2 is, and I hope you can see this, is my client, Jennifer Eggers. She wrote the book Resilience. We're actually working on book number 2 with Jennifer right now. Jennifer's story is very simple. Jennifer is a consultant to the C-suite of Fortune 500 conversations, or Fortune 500 CEOs, CFOs, COOs, that kind of thing. So she's a consultant working within their organization to help them to reach new levels, etc. And when she wrote her book, Resilience, the idea of writing that book was she understood how valuable every single conversation was with the right person. Okay. Now, why is that? Well, because Pamela's average client pays her $50,000 to $100,000 for a consulting contract or agreement. Now, that could be over 6 months. It could be over a year. It could be over a couple of years. So every single right person that she has a conversation with that is framed appropriately, meaning that they are looking at her through the frame of, she is an expert on this topic. I am talking to an expert on this topic. Every conversation that she has with the right person that sees her as an expert is worth gold. So Jennifer's idea was very simple. It's something that we've discussed and something that I've taught on many, many times. She sent, over a period of 2 years, she sent 200 copies of her book to potential clients. Now, these were people that perhaps she met at a conference and exchanged business cards, and she said, I'm going to send you a copy of my book. These are people that she never met before, but she perhaps worked a consulting contract within that company and organization, and so she wanted to introduce herself to, that new division lead or the vice president of that section of the company, and over a 2-year period sent out 200 copies. Now, that is on average 2 a week. Now, I don't know that she sent an average of 2 a week. I mean, I know it's an average of 2 a week because 2 years, 200 copies, right? But I don't know if she sent 10 one week and then nothing for the next. I don't know how she did it. But imagine that you just have, let's say, some type of program. You're a consultant like Jennifer is, and your clients are very, very, very high value. And all you want to do is be framed in the right way, and you want to be able to have a conversation with those potential clients. If you do that and you use your book, then you're going to have more opportunities than you'd ever have before, just networking or hoping that you're going to be connected to the right people. I did a 30 or 45-minute long podcast with Jennifer. Jennifer reported that she did over $500,000 in new consulting contracts directly from these 200 copies of her book being sent out. $500,000. It was after that podcast that Jennifer started working on book number 2. It was about, 6 months ago or something like that. Now, so the question to ask yourself is, who do I need to talk to that person should see me as the expert? Now, open up your frame a little bit. Maybe you don't sell a $100,000 consulting package to the C-suite. Okay. Well, would it be valuable for you to speak to a conference organizer because you are a fantastic speaker and you would like to get a speaker fee of $10,000, $25,000, et cetera? Maybe you've gotten that in the past, but you're struggling to do that now. Well, what conference organizers or event planners are having events on your expertise? You don't know who those people are, meaning that you're not in a regular conversation with them. But if you put your book in their hands, now you have the right frame. So ask yourself and expand your mind. Ask yourself, who do you need to talk to? That is what Jennifer did. Jennifer asked herself, who do I need to talk to? Because every conversation that I have is really golden and valuable. Because if it's framed in the right way, it could lead to a $50,000 engagement, a $100,000 engagement, or even more. In Jennifer's case, 200 books led to $500,000. I know everybody wants to sell 1 million books. I get it. I get the excitement of selling 100,000 books or 1 million books or whatever. But the reality is, especially for someone like Jennifer, she didn't need to sell 1 million copies of her book. And that's why we always say, look, be as narrow as possible with your ideal client, because just a few hundred books can make you $1 million if they're put in the right hands and you have the right offer. So, Jennifer, resilience, who do you need to talk to? All right, case study number 3. This is my client, Wes Watson. Some of you don't know, most of you probably don't know who Wes is. Wes has millions of followers on social media. Wes is rough. He is not everybody's favorite taste. Wes was in prison for 10 years, and he came out, he started making content, and his YouTube channel and his social media exploded. As I said, millions and millions of followers. And he came to me because he wanted to get his book done. He wanted to tell his story, but even more than that, he wanted to crystallize his process of helping other people to have an unbreakable mindset, a non-negotiable mindset, which he does with himself. So we helped him with this book and launched it. Now, if you have a social media following, now yours may not be as large as Wes's is. And today, this is like 3 years. Later this month is 3 years since we published and launched Wes's bestseller. You may not have 200,000 followers or 300,000 followers, which is what I think Wes had at the time. Now he has millions of followers. You may not have that many, but if you have 10,000, if you have 20,000, if you have, a few thousand followers, then the question you have to ask yourself is, how do I get my book, my content into the hands of my followers? And that's what Wes thought, and that's what Wes did. So Wes started talking about his book. Of course, that was our plan, right? Like, we need to talk about your book on social media. I mean, you have your message, and every one of your messages has a theme that's related to in the book. So use the themes of your book within your message and direct people back. Today, his book has 1,000 reviews. 1,000. It's sold tens of thousands of copies. And his average sales price ranges between $13 and $15. And you know how Amazon works. He keeps most of that. And that doesn't even include Barnes & Noble and iBooks and all the other places. He's made hundreds of thousands of dollars just in royalties. And remember what I say about royalties. I always say the same thing to everybody about royalties, right? If you expect nothing, then you're not going to be disappointed. You'll be happy. And I told that to Wes, but I said, look, with all your followers, if we do it right, you're going to make hundreds of thousands of dollars just from royalties alone. Besides that, the number of people that have come to him for his coaching programs has exploded as well because of his book. So what if you have, the question, if you have social media followers, all you have to do and think about is, how do I use the themes of my book to direct my content and then direct people back to my book to buy it? Now, I hope also you've done what we teach within the book, and that is make sure that you have next steps at the end of each chapter, because you don't want people just reading your book. You want people reading your book and then coming back to you for your programs, coming back to you for your coaching, coming back to you for whatever else you're selling. That's exactly what they've done with Wes. So, one book, 1,000 reviews, tens of thousands of sales, hundreds of thousands of dollars in royalties because of the size of his following. But forget the size of his following. If you have any followers, you need to think, how can I teach the content of my book and then direct people back to my book so that they can get a copy for themselves and then come back to me after they read it to buy my coaching, buy my services, buy my programs, etc. Okay? That's the third case study. I'll give you one more. I wasn't going to give you four, but because the fourth is me, but might as well, right? So my first ugly book that I wrote 16 years ago, Life After Debt, for my financial services company. I had no idea what I was doing with that book. I only knew from Dan Kennedy in particular that I should write a book, and then I should use that book in every way possible to get in front of my ideal client. That meant trying to get on real media, because social media wasn't that hot in 2008, 2009. So real media was still important. It's still important now, but it was much more important even than it is now. Get this book, get my book to my email list, which was very small, just a few hundred, maybe a couple thousand people. Use the book for speaking engagements, etc. So what did I do? Well, I didn't have a lot of money. You may or may not know or remember my story, but I was just coming off a pretty devastating financial crisis because of the real estate crisis and because of where interest rates had gone and because we couldn't close loans and couldn't sell real estate and all that. You remember what it was like during the financial crisis of 2008, 2009, all the way into about 2012. So when I wrote this book, the very first thing I did was I sent it to local radio stations and asked them if they would like a financial expert on to talk about finance and to talk about the issues that are going on with the financial crisis. Nobody bid except for one radio station. But I went on that radio station and I did a 5-minute or so live segment. And I actually had to, in those days, I actually had to go down to the radio station, which was kind of cool at the time, and, sit there with the on-air talent and do the interview. And I did the only thing I knew to do. We didn't have a lot of technology. We didn't have a big funnel built or anything like that. Didn't even know what most of that was. Certainly not relative to what we think of funnels today. So at the end, the on-air talent will always ask, so how can people get in touch with you? How can, people reach out and get more information? And I said, because I don't even remember if I got advice or I just heard somebody else had done this, but I said, if you want a free copy of my book, Life After Debt, after you've heard what I've had to say for the last 5 minutes, then I will send it to you. No postage, no shipping costs, nothing. I'll send it to you for free. Just call my office, and I gave the telephone number. That's it. That was it. There was no fun. I didn't send them to a funnel. I didn't know that was the funnel. The funnel was me saying, do you want a copy of my book? And if they raised their hands and said yes, then to me, that was enough of an indication that these were people that I could help. I didn't know if we would give away 3 or 300. I had no idea. I didn't know what I was doing. I did that, and they replayed. This is the very first day, and this is both fortune and God's grace and his favor on me. But that very day, the very first day, they replayed that interview. And it was about 6 o'clock at night. I'm still in the office, hustling, trying to make something happen. And the telephone rang, and I answered it. You know, financial services, this is Rob. And the person on the other end, and I tell this story in my book, Publish, Promote, Profit. The person on the other end said, is this Rob, you know, the author of Life After Debt? I just heard you on the radio. And that led to about a 20 or 30-minute conversation, and that was our very first client for my financial services company. It led to about a $6,000 opportunity for my company. And from that day on, we used the radio and gave away the book for free. We were giving hundreds of copies of the books away for free using radio and every resource we could. We didn't even charge a shipping cost. And all people had to do was call our office. That way we could have a conversation with them. That was it. So would something like that work today? I don't know why not. It depends on if your offer has a mass market appeal. Mine did, and it was right for the time. It depends on other factors. But all we're really talking about is get a free copy of the book, and if you're interested, call this telephone number. Or if you're interested, fill out this form. Or if you're interested, comment below. Taki Moore, my client that we help do $1 Million Coach with, this is what he does with his book, and he uses social media. He talks about his book, he shows an image of his book, and then he says, if you're interested in getting a free copy of my book, $1 Million Coach, comment coach below, and he'll get 30, 50, 80, 200 people that will comment below, coach, and he gets them a free copy, and it doesn't cost him a dime because it's a digital copy, a PDF copy. You can do any of this without building a funnel. You can do any of these things without, understanding all the technology or how Facebook ads work or Google ads. You can do all of that, but you need a couple of things in place. Let me talk about that. And then I'll end and I'll answer any questions that you have. You need a couple of things in place. One thing that I hoped you noticed with all 4 of these case studies is that every single one of these people was really clear on what they sold, how they sold it, and it was a higher priced sale. Every single one of these situations. These people were not like building their business, like building the parachute after they jumped out of the airplane. I'm not saying that there's not a place for that. I'm not saying that hustle and, trying to figure it out as you go is a bad thing. I'm not saying that at all. I'm just saying if that's the case, if you're not really clear on what you're selling, if you haven't sold it before, if you're starting a brand new business, right? Brand new on the back of your book, then be patient. Be patient with yourself. Be patient with the marketplace. You have a lot of things to figure out. You have more to figure out than just how do I get the book in the right person's hands. You have to figure out the whole thing of what am I selling? Is the price point right? Does the market really want it? Am I communicating it right? Et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. The one thing to notice was every one of these people knew what they were selling. They weren't guessing. It was a high ticket sale, as high as $50,000 to $100,000 in Jennifer Egger's case, Resilience. As low as, $4,000 or $5,000 in my case, as well as in Pamela Moss Garrett's case. And with Wes Watson, yes, he was making money from the sale of the book, but that's because he had a very large social media following that he could market to. But he also sells very high level $10,000, $15,000, $25,000 coaching programs from the book also. So that's number one. Every one of these people knew what they were selling. They knew what the process was. They were really, really clear on it. Number 2, every one of these people had some figuring out to do, right? Even with knowing all of that, when Pamela took the first step of sending those books out, is it going to work right out of the gate? I don't know. I don't remember how many she sent immediately. I don't think it was 300 right out of the gate. Probably should ask her or go back and listen to the video training that we did together. because maybe she mentions it, but I'm pretty sure it wasn't hundreds right away. Test, create a process, create some systems. Don't just be like the person that tries Facebook ads and spends a couple $100 and then says, well, Facebook ads don't work for me. That's not true. You don't know if they work or not yet. Be patient. Understand that there's a process. You have some figuring out to do. One of the things that we do and talk about when it comes to people that want to speak and use their book to get speaking engagements is you should set up a system. I've said this in training for 10 years, where you're sending out 5 books a week. 5 books a week. It's not expensive to send 5 books a week out. In fact, you could hire a VA and print and ship 5 books a week, and it'll cost you $100 to do that. Not very expensive. But you've got to find who to ship them to. You've got to have the right message to that person, whether it's an event planner, an organizer, right, or somebody that runs an association of some kind, or somebody that heads up a big event that you want to speak at. And guess what? After 3 months of doing this, not much may happen. And then in the 4th month, you may get a $40,000 speaking opportunity. And won't you be happy that you didn't quit in the 3rd month? So create a system. You know this will work. You know if you can get your book into the right person's hands that you need to talk to, and then follow up with them. Follow up, have your virtual assistant follow up with a phone call, try to get you an appointment so that you can have a conversation. And look, if someone sends you a book in the mail and you're running a conference and this person is a speaker on a topic that's of interest at your conference, of course you're going to talk to them. Of course you're going to give them the time of day. Of course you are. But even if you don't, somebody will. 2 out of 5, 1 out of 5, 3 out of 5. So there are the 4 examples and the things that you need to think about. Okay, the examples again: Pamela Moss, strategic partnerships and referrals; Jennifer Eggers, resilience. That's all about getting your book into the right person's hands; Wes Watson, using your following, if it's 500 followers or 500,000 followers, thinking about how to get your content and your book into the hands of your ideal client. And then last but not least, I didn't know what I was doing. Let me give away the book, and then have a conversation and see if we can help somebody. Just that simple. Give away the book, have a talk, see if you can help. Okay, I have a call in 3 minutes. You guys are awesome. 4 case studies for you today, and you don't need a tech skill. You don't need to know how to do a website. You don't need to know what a funnel is. You don't need any of that stuff. I hope this was helpful to you. Please, please, please take action on this stuff. Even do it imperfectly, like Stephen shared. I didn't even write a note in the book. Write a note. If you're going to send a book, write a note. But if you don't, that will probably even work. All you're doing is getting your amazing book into the right people's hands, and I promise you it will make a difference. So thank you, guys. Thanks for your trust in me and BSP. Don't forget Thursday's call. Love you all and hope for the absolute best for all of you. And feel free to email me, Lynn, and think about your questions for next week. If this is something that really resonates, okay, then don't go chase another shiny object later or tomorrow. Think about, okay, well, what do I need to know? And we'll talk about those things next week. Have a great week, everybody. Bye.